Today we're going to talk about concrete poetry. What is it? Concrete poem takes the shape of its subject. It's often referred to as visual poetry or shape poetry. It gives open creativity through poetry and artistry. The rules. There is no rhyming or literary devices required. They are merely optional when it comes to concrete poetry. The only rule is the poems must take the shape of the subject of the poem. Types of concrete poetry. There are two types of concrete poetry. The first one is outline poetry. These fill in the shape of the poem. These poems take the words to fill in the shape of the subject of the poem. Oftentimes, these poems have fonts that vary in size to help create the shape. Here's an example, and you can see this one's shaped as a moon, and they use different size fonts to help create the illusion of the moon. Do you see it far up high? A sign of mercy in the sky, a thread of silver shining bright, and all below with joy delight. They whisper prayers, intentions made, so in resolve they do not fade. Tomorrow marks their sacred fast. Yes, Ramadan is here at last. You can see this one used some rhyming to help create the illusion. And here's another example. This one I wrote. This one's going to be more of a freestyle poetry versus using any literary devices. Tornado. Devastating, disastrous, dangerous, ripping through everything in its way, no clear straight path. Raining, whirling, twirling, bending, looking out as it comes through, destroying homes, barns, cars as it rips the land. And you could see that both of these have clear images of what they're portraying. The first one, the moon, and this one, the tornado going across the land. The second type of poetry, or the second type of concrete poetry, are drawing poems. And the words draw or outline the poem shape. They tend to be 4 to 6 lines in length. The length varies depending on the amount of outlining that is needed for the subject. And here's an example of an airplane taking flight. A click to roar, a sputter, a whoosh. A flick to soar, a shudder, a push. The nose held high, the wings steady. The plane is ready to touch the sky. Now let's talk about how to write a concrete poem. First, you need to pick your topic. What do you want your poem to be about? Then you need to draw the outline for the topic. You can either draw it freehandedly, or you can trace a stencil, or you can select an image off the internet or computer. And then you have to decide on which type of concrete poem you want to use. Do you want to use an outline poem or a drawing form poem? This is important in helping decide the length of your poem. Sometimes the outline poems tend to have more lines to fill in more area of a poem, or they just change the font to help spread the words out more. Next, you're actually going to write your poem on paper. This step, you're just going to put it on paper. You're not going to worry about creating the shape of your poem. You want to get your ideas down, edit it until you get it how you like. In the next step, we're going to shape the poem. You're either going to take it and fill in your outline to do your outline poem or your drawing poem if you needed to do the drawing and trace your words along the edge of your poem. You may have to omit or add some words or play with the size of the fonts to create that illusion that you're looking for. And then you're going to either erase or delete the outline of your poem. You can leave it for a more concrete picture, or you can let the words do all the shaping for you. And here's an example of a concrete poem that I wrote. I chose to do the drawing form of the poem. I first chose my subject, which is the mask, and then I freehanded the shape of a mask that I wanted to use for my poem. I wrote my poem out. Ready for the masquerade ball, all covered in sparkles, jewels, and beads. Many have hints of feathers, majestic. 2 holes cut out for eyes to peek. At night is when the mood is set. You can see I didn't use rhyming or literary forms. I took more of the freestyle poetry approach to this poem. I did have to do some editing and omitting some words to make it fit to create that illusion of the mask that I wanted. And then I just used some artistry to fill in the rest of the mask with some colors to make it pop a little bit more. And now it's your turn to try and write your very own concrete poem.